Welcome back, everybody. I'm Sean LaFlock. I'm here with Scotty Hagman. This is his Conversations, Fitness, Wellness, and Longevity. Scott, you're bundled up.
I'm bundled up, yeah. I don't know what temperature it is, but it's not warm.
You know,
Looking to thaw out in LA next week, though. So
all right.
I might be on the beach for next week's call. We'll see.
Yeah, buddy. I was actually looking at someone yesterday, and I was looking at them with a nice, smooth, shaved head, and I was asked my buddy, I'm like, "You think I should go there?" He goes, "No, absolutely not." I go, What do you think it is? Like, at what point do you just go all the way? You know what I mean? I think maybe a little too young. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not weathered enough in my face. Is that? I mean, you don't look very weathered there, Scott.
No,
How do I
no.
decide when
I,
to get like
I,
just go? Just
I shaved my head. I actually didn't. I didn't realize till after the fact, but it had been the 20-year anniversary of me shaving my head this summer.
so
And
31, 32 then.
yeah,
No
yep,
shit.
yep. Yeah, I went. I had long hair from about 18. I started growing my hair out, and I
Yeah.
kept it, shoulder length and below. And then somewhere in the early 90s, I just didn't cut it for years.
Yep.
And I had such a long ponytail that I could sit on it.
Oh shit.
And yeah, and then in summer '97, I decided I was done with it, and cut it all off, and shaved my head. And outside of, I've grown it out like a tiny bit, a couple of times in that time, but I pretty much had a shaved head, that entire time.
No kidding. Are you receded like me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started my hairline started receding when I was 18.
No shit.
Yeah, and I know this because I was just combing my hair, and it was literally like maybe 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, and all of a sudden I realized I had these little widow's peaks, and I was like, wait a minute. I
Yeah.
never had that like that before. It must have been progressive. Clearly, I was actually balding when I was 17, because it was literally like a couple of weeks, and it wasn't like overnight.
Oh,
So, it receded a little. It stayed put, and then it receded a little more for, somewhere in my earlier 20s. Then it stayed put, and then it was a little more. So, yeah, I had that going on, and yeah, there's not a lot of ways you can make that look really good. So
I know.
screw it. I'm going to cut it off.
Yeah,
And
man.
it's nice for working out. I've never regretted it. Training in the gym or riding, having
Yep.
short hair. It's just sometimes it's a hassle to shave it,
Yep.
but you got to shave your face unless you have a beard. And I literally haven't been in for a haircut in probably 26, 27 years.
Very
Because
economical there, Scott.
very economical. I've basically, since the 80s, I've probably not spent a penny on any sort of haircut,
Yep.
because I just grew my hair out and I took zero care of it whatsoever till 97, and then I cut it all off in 97. So
Yep. So let's do some math real quick there, Scott. Say the average haircut is about, I don't know, $20 with the tip, maybe, if you're doing something. Let's go 25. Let's get crazy. So let's say you get your hair cut every 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, right? Is that normal, or is it every month people do? It's been a while.
I don't know. I feel like it's every couple months, maybe, but depends.
Well, we're not talking about sheepdogs here, Scott. We're talking about human beings. So let's go every month. Let's say that's
Okay.
$300 a month for the last 27 years. You saved yourself $8,100, Scott. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think your younger self is there's a silver lining for that guy saying, "Man, when am I going to get out of this?" $8,100. There you go. Where's that guy showing up at your door with the $8,100? No question.
I know.
Buy yourself a few Airdynes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Speaking of which, do you have Airdynes in your gym, right?
I do.
How are they holding up? Or assault bikes? Well, you have assault bikes in your gym, do you?
I have an assault bike, and
Yep.
I have two of the newer Airdynes, and we have in the past had numerous old
The Airdyne Pros.
Yeah, here I happen to be near them here.
Oh, there you go.
We can have a look
You
here.
can check them out. All right. So, how do you like the difference between the two?
I personally like the assault bike a lot better myself. It might be that I'm more used to using it.
Yep.
But the Airdynes, the new ones, feel like they have a lot of resistance. They have these big ass fans.
Yeah.
see here, you haven't seen how wide they are.
Yep.
And it's hard to warm up or do kind of base work on them, I feel like, because it takes quite a bit of effort just to get the things going,
Yep.
and keep them going. So I
Yep.
think the Airdyne spins better for recovery work. And then, I don't know, maybe,
I got you.
there.
I'm
Okay,
here.
yeah, and maybe the assault bike feels closer to the old Airdynes, which I still
Yeah.
love. Um, I don't dislike the new Airdynes. They're definitely. I do like that you have the multiple handle grips. I
Yeah.
have done sprints before and changed my grip between them, or even kind of a hammer grip that you can't do on the assault bike.
Yep.
So there's definitely pros and cons.
Let me ask you this: how are they holding up for you?
I believe we've had no issues,
Yeah.
other than there might have been one might have been a slight internal defect, a bit of a skip
Mm-hmm.
at one point. We had three, and when we shrunk the footprint of the gym this last year, we uh, sold one of the
Yep.
Airdyne Pros we had. And made room for some ski ergs instead.
Ah.
So yeah, the other side of that, they've held up. They've held up fine.
Yep. Yeah, I was seeing that actually Rogue is getting into the game starting, I think, in a month or two or something like that with basically an econ version. Looks
Nice.
sturdy as heck. I don't know
I
if you got
bet.
a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I need to check that out. That's so funny because it wasn't very long ago I was thinking that why is Rogue not made an Airdyne?
Right?
Yeah. So cool.
It's very interesting because I guess it's obviously about preference, but the price point on them is actually a lot better than the assault bikes and the Airdynes. So
What is it? I haven't seen what the price point's going to be.
I think it's like $695. It's the starting price.
Well,
I want to say
that's nice.
Yeah. Rogue Fitness Econ bike, or is it Econ bike? I think it's Echo bike. But the other cool thing is that most people get some kind of gift cards or whatever during the holidays, etc. $750. That's what it's at right now. They're not out yet. They're going to be out in late January, but starting at $750. And I know assault bikes were something like they are like $899, and they're marked down to like $799 or something like that, and then you can get them at competitions for like $650 or whatever. But you get a couple gift cards here and there for Rogue. You pile them up, and then bang, get yourself a chunk at least toward your Echo bike, and then you can get one one of them for personally, whatever. The other thing is that that's going to be backed by Rogue, so if anything happens to it, that they're going to back up the product. And the last thing is that they're picking up where all those others left off. So the things like moving the bikes around the gym, like are they easily movable? What do we think about in terms of the fan resistance? So they get a lot of feedback probably from from athletes, and they say, is it too much resistance? How much resistance do you want? What's the monitor like? How's the seat position? So they can take all those little things and really make like a 2.0 version of all those things. Whereas once you get an assault bike, the biggest thing that they've done so far is they've gone to like an elite version, which is like $1,200. I know they did like an upgrade package where they have a new monitor and you can get new pedals and new wheels. Because the one I had, the wheels are not offset, so when you try to roll it around the gym, the feet will hit the ground.
Oh yeah, ours is a bit like that. Like there's a very thin window for error between the feet hitting the ground
or the fan hitting.
Rolling.
Yeah, it's such a pain in the butt.
Right. Yeah.
So the new
tricky,
ones, they've put the pedals on top and they've offset it, and then the pedals themselves are metal. So they're not like a plastic.
We have metal pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
we have those.
Too.
Yeah, they're very much like pedals I've had on my BMX bike.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And which are pretty bulletproof. I thought was super smart.
Have you seen the Concept 2 bike yet?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you haven't gotten a chance to ride it yet?
I haven't tried one, no.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, they're pretty sturdy, and obviously, Concept 2 is a very good company, so I imagine they're probably going to be a good product. But again, I know you guys have some spin bikes there, right?
Now, spin bikes
Not
is something
anymore.
I've always wanted to get. Never have had one.
Well, keep an eye out for some people who have some Concept 2 bikes, and maybe you can grab one secondhand.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, whether it's a rower or even the new assault bikes and that kind of stuff, at least they're holding up over time enough where if you do need to sell them, you're going to get a good chunk of change back
Yeah.
from the original. I know some of like the old Airdynes and stuff, they dropped off in value so much. It's almost like, it's very interesting because I remember trying to find like Airdynes with good monitors on, Craigslist or whatever. People were selling for like $300, $400, $500, and then all of a sudden, Assault Bike comes out, and they're like, well, no, I'm not going to get that anymore. So like, it basically created this market that crashed because now if you're like, well, if I'm going to spend $500, I might as well get an Assault Bike.
Right.
So it's interesting to see that how technology coming out can in some ways ruin your retirement plan by putting all your eggs into that Airdyne basket.
Airdyne basket. Well, you know what I have now that I probably won't ever go through is I didn't realize till we were kind of reorganizing the gym. It's like, oh, when we had that stable of 3 or 4 of the old original Airdynes,
Yep.
you know how the cotter pins would always wear out and the cranks.
The worst.
And also some of the little L crank thing that's
Yep.
unique, those things. So we had bags of those. We had ordered all those parts to keep going through them, and I was like, oh, now we don't have it. Well, I have one at home.
Yep.
I
So
have,
now
so
you just
I've,
have bags of
I have
wedge pins and cranks just sitting around doing nothing.
yeah. So if I ever decide to do hard airline training at home, I guess I'll be able to
God,
repair the bike for a long
was
time.
that the most obnoxious thing? I'd probably replace the pins maybe every 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh yeah.
It's terrible.
Yep.
I mean, obviously
Terrible.
they really weren't made for 200-pound ogres doing sprints on them.
Right.
But you'd figure, like, when they were thinking that through, like, why not just make that like a single, like, forged piece? But what are you going to do?
Right. Well, I mean, they were made in this. It was basically a '70s design, and the technology and a lot of bikes. I mean, a lot of bikes you would buy back then had that. I know a lot of unicycles when I was doing
no
my
shit.
little phase of doing unicycle trick riding had that exact same, pin in the crank, and fairly terrible idea there too because there's a fair amount of wheel on the torque, the cranks of a unicycle as you control and you push, pull, and stop and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's
they
a lot of
wore
like
out.
reverse pedaling to try and balance yourself and that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So you would put those out really quickly because there's not just forward pressure, there's forward and back pressure all the time.
Yep.
Plus the fact that it's 100% reversible in a lot of cases. So one time you're ready to ride it, one way, next on the end, right?
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I think it's a throwback from just the technology that everyone was using in that era of bikes and whatnot.
Yeah, and obviously I've tried the ski ergs a bunch of times. Those are I like those. I think that'll be their next purchase when we get a little bit of change like saved up. But every time I've used them, I've they're great piece of equipment. Definitely a different stimulus than the bike and the rower. Would you say?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we got here in last summer first time, and everyone love to get over there and do it. Use them. I think it's a great complement to stuff we do. Kind of more flexion based.
Yep.
Thing. Yeah, and the WODs. I mean, that's kind of not an unusual thing in competition anymore. So some proficiency there is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's also very interesting. They're one of those things where you look at it, you're like, oh, I want to do that. And about 30 seconds in, you're like, yeah, I could definitely stop doing this now.
I know.
It's one of those things, it's hard right from the beginning.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like my very first exposure was when we were at one of the original OPT, now OPEX Level 1 certs when he was still up in Calgary. And his wife bought him a ski erg for his birthday, and it was his birthday that weekend. We were having the seminar, so we went up to the old gym location, and everyone basically, went over and pulled, tried the thing out because none of us had tried it. And I remember I was like, oh, I'm going to ski a 500. And I remember about 200 into that, I was like, oh, what was I thinking? I should have picked a 250.
Yeah, exactly. This is a lot different than rowing 500.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different experience, and I think you hit the nail on the head. The flexion-based movement rather than the extension makes it even more challenging to find power, but also then
Mm-hmm.
find your breath as well. Not to mention that as you're coming up and down, you get this blood pressure change, that kind of thing. Whereas when you're on a bike or a rower, you're pretty much staying the
Mm-hmm.
same in the vertical plane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely takes a little bit to figure out efficiency, and it'll really expose any kind of leakages in the chain of power.
yep, those
Or be,
disconnects. Have
mm-hmm.
you gotten like a tutorial on those at all? Do you know anybody who cross country skis and can give you a good 1-2 on how to actually do that?
I haven't dug into it a ton, which
Yeah.
is something I need and want to do. I was working with somebody here that has done a fair amount of cross country skiing
Uh
in his
huh.
past, and he gave me just some basic tips and some things on it. And but yeah, outside of that,
Because like cross country skiers, like obviously rowers, they come in the winter and they're on the erg. But like
hmm
I don't know, like cross country skiers, I kind of think that they would have like almost something that looks exactly like what they do for indoor training. I almost think I've seen something like that. What does a cross country skier do during the summer?
well, there's roller skating.
Ah,
So Mark McLaughlin, that was coached me for a lot of years,
yep.
kind of sports science guy here in town. Like that's one of the things he does. He's a cross country skier and
Oh,
a
really?
long distance cyclist, and he will put on roller skis. We have miles of these paved trails. It used to be a train track at one point through
Uh huh.
town, but it's paved now for a bike path. But you can roller ski it quite easily too.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yep. I mean, you can use a skier, but I mean, a little more specific yet is just get on paved trail somewhere and ski away in the summer.
Wow. Roller skiing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I know they have they have things like stand up paddle board skateboards now and all that kind of stuff as well.
There's
So
all kinds of
surfing,
configurations.
whatever.
Well, yeah, and they have little tiny snowboards that you can kick flip like a skateboard because there's no bindings.
Oh,
Just so
no
it
kidding.
crosses every direction.
I know, right? This is getting there's very much a almost like a collision of all these different ideas happening in one place. It's like, how do you get good at any of this stuff? There's so much to do. But at least there's options. So if you are in an off season, you can go, like you said, if you don't have snow, then you go, you go out and you're roller skiing. That's a pretty cool idea. So I'm a
Yeah,
week out from Wodapalooza, so probably next week you're going to be in Cali, getting nice and warm. I'll be down in South Beach, nice and warm. Hopefully, a little warmer than where we are both now. This is the coldest that it's been in Florida since I've been down here. And back, I think in 2010, 2011, we had a couple day cold spell where it got down into like the low 40s and stuff. But it was down in the it was in the 30s the last couple days, and it was bitter. It was cold. I bundled up and I'm not messing around anymore. I think the biggest thing that people say to me, they go, "Oh, Sean, you got you're thin blooded now." I'm like, no. I just let go of my ego because like back in the day, I'd have my shorts and just a sweat, long sleeve shirt. But like, oh, I'm tough, and then you just get sick as a dog and you're depleted and whatever.
hmm
Now I've got 3 layers. I got the face thing. I got my hat. I got my neck covered. Not to mention I drive a scooter, so it makes it even more difficult. But next week we still have Wodapalooza on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The first event that was announced is a 7K trail run.
nice.
And then the second one they announced, again, I don't know when these things are and how they're necessarily done, but the second event that was announced was a 1 mile sandbag run with one of those reckets. Yeah.
Oh,
So I don't know how heavy it's going to be.
oh, you don't know the weights.
Yeah. So the weekend could be over for a lot of people before it even starts.
Wow, they're
Just
going off the rails. They're the long distance running and then rucking basically.
yep. But off the top of my head, 7K trail run and then another run. If that's in the beginning of the weekend, which I believe it is, it's probably on Friday morning. I mean, people could just be crushed after that.
Yeah, if you can get through that well and, reasonably recovered, then you might have a leg up going into the more normal stuff.
Yep. Yeah, the rec bag thing is oh man, I can just imagine how my calves are going to feel after that.
Hopefully it's not super, super heavy.
I know, right? So, the other event that was announced is the barbell complex. This is a throwback from a couple of years ago, back in 2014 or 15 when I did Wodapalooza, the RX division. The weights were 225, 245, and 265 respectively. So you had to do 3 hand cleans, 3 front squats, 3 shoulder overhead, 2 hand cleans, 2 front squats, 2 shoulder overhead, 1, 1, and 1. And it was a 5-minute time cap. And I think I got capped out. I'd finished the second bar and I got capped out in the third bar, so I couldn't hit the 265. So right now I'm going to be doing the intermediate category, and the weights are going to be 225, 245, and 265. The
Awesome.
RX and the RX and Masters 35 and 40 are 245, 265, and 285, and now they bumped up the Elite to 275, 295, and 315.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, this is gonna, and it's a sprint, so it's a 5-minute cap. You really. You can't go too slow in the beginning of this because you might not have enough time to finish it out. But it should be a pretty cool show for the elite competitors and the elite teams. But it's cool to get another crack at this workout and see what kind of progress I've made over the last 3 years, though I haven't been necessarily trying to do this workout in particular. I think right now my best performance in the workouts as far, if you put it on paper, is probably going to be the 7K trail run and the 1 mile sandbag run. But I'm hoping to at least be more proficient at this little complex here, and hopefully be able to get into that that last bar and be able to hit a few reps at 65. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the type of training you've been doing should be helping out there, I would think.
Yeah, it was actually 2 days ago. I was doing an EMOM with progressively increasing weights of hang power cleans. Of course, sets of 3 on the even minutes. On the odd minutes, 5 muscle ups. So I did that for 20 minutes, and I think I started the bar at like 185, and then ended up the last set at 225. So 2 days later, turns out you're going to have to do hang power cleans in triples and then lower. So, my magic ball every once in a while spits out something that's similar to what the actual workouts are. But I always go off of previous kind of events and as much information as I have, because again, there's only so many dimensions to this sport that if you're not training things that have been put out before, it's a little bit silly. That being said, you should always be trying to be more balanced and get outside of the normal stuff. So I've been doing a little bit of paddle boarding. In the off season, I was doing slacklining. So if there's any balance stuff that I might have to do, getting across a balance beam, that kind of thing, I'm going to be more adapted to doing that kind of thing. But
smart.
Yep, trying to be. But the other cool thing is that Myra, who took 5th at the games and I coached from the 35 to the 39. Her weights are 165, 175, and 185. So there's going to be some fireworks on that one as she destroys.
I can imagine.
Rips through those bars like a lion rips through a gazelle. Yeah, so it's also going to be an interesting dynamic, to get your thoughts as well is, because I know back in the day you were probably coaching and competing at the same time, especially when you were out at region or at the games back in like Aromas, weren't you?
I was at the Aromas games, yeah.
Yeah, so were you a player coach back then?
Sort of, yeah, within the same group, for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be definitely a different dynamic.
Yeah, it's difficult to focus on others and yourself at the same time.
Yeah. But in some ways, I think it's going to be a lot better just to kind of take the pressure off of me and be able to kind of focus my attention on others when I'm not in game mode. And I've already kind of I'm it's implicit, but I'm already kind of letting my athletes know that, like, outside of me being on the competition floor, I'm coach. So don't
Yeah.
think that like, oh, I can't talk to you or I can't, like, dude, I'm doing this for fun. It's an intermediate competition. I just want to be able to, again, push myself, see what my training does, put the, the training to the test, see what, my protocols have actually produced.
Yeah.
And obviously my intention is to go and win. That's my intention.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's going to be in this division. I have no idea the level of athletes, but I know what I'm
Yeah.
capable of. I know that my training has been going really well. Just yesterday I was doing a pretty brutal EMOM on paper, and I was just flying through it. So in some ways that's going well. Certain things are clicking at the right time. I'm going to do a little Olympic lifting lesson on Sunday with Don McCauley. Just to kind of shore up everything and make sure that barbell complex is as smooth as it could be. But, when events come out, Scotty, I'm going to get your perspective on this. Obviously there's some workouts you might run through, but what's your way of telling whether it's worth it to go through a workout for an athlete?
Yeah. There's a lot of things I do by gut feel and knowing the athlete. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. I mean, obviously, how close is it to the event, and is an
Yep.
attempt at the event going to leave him too fatigued? And a high level athlete can tolerate quite a bit, so that's not always the case. But you kind of have to look at, is this something that we're strategy? Is it markedly different than things we've done before? I do think if you can get an exposure to something, is always good.
Yep.
So I try to get it in, but there's cases I wouldn't.
Yeah, I had an athlete who said, I'm going to go running now that the 7K has been announced. I'm like, it's a little late in the game at this point.
Yeah, now that's the case. Yeah, I would say, yeah, you don't go try that. The only case where it maybe would make a little bit of sense is someone who's an experienced runner and you could run the exact same course.
Yeah.
Which is probably you probably don't even know what it is. So,
nope, exactly.
Yeah, otherwise, you're not going to get any better at running here a week out.
That's what I'm thinking. And but that being said, I made a compromise, and I was like, you know what, let's do about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes of technique work, and let's see if you can actually get into a good mindset of like, oh wow, this feels good running, so that when you do actually have to run, you're feeling confident in your ability to do it, regardless of like what the distance is.
Yeah, exactly. That's valuable and smart. You're getting some running work in. You're doing more running over an overall time period than probably the event. And you're getting confidence and technique. Hopefully, will actually help.
Yep. And I think that is more valuable in the long run than actually doing the workouts in my mind. Like for me personally, whenever I had my technique clicking, I was confident going into the workout. I'm like, when I chest to bars felt money, I'm like, I don't care what the workout's going to bring or what the pace is that I'm going to have to set. As long as the movements feel good, that's really all I care about. Like if my thrusters feel good on a Fran or a thruster type workout, whatever it might be, I'm like, at least I'm not going to physically be hurting from this workout. Like I might be metabolically and just give it my all, but it's not like my back locks up or my grip goes because of inefficiencies. It's just like you're going to go as hard as you can, and the only thing that's going to prevent you from going harder is your want or your ability to go harder. You know what I mean? Not just necessarily technical things that are going to slow you down. So
yeah.
Very interesting. So.
Totally.
The next time we talk, Scott, you will be in California, I imagine, down in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I will be down in South Beach, so hopefully we'll be able to get connected next week. I will keep you posted, but if not...
Yeah, I realize, your schedule is a little tricky there with that.
Again, you never know. I think we might be able to work something out.
I should be pretty free on what time. My event doesn't start till Saturday, so we'll be pre-writing.
And when are you flying out there, Scott?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. Okay, so
I'm gone Wednesday, and I get back a week later on Wednesday.
Maybe even we can set something up on Thursday evening. I know I'm going to be pretty free then too.
Yeah, maybe that's a better plan. Actually,
okay, cool.
That way you don't have to deal with it on comp day.
Sounds good to me. All right, Scott, you got anything else?
No, I got some exciting stuff I've been learning and applying that I wasn't ready to talk about this week, so I'm glad we didn't. But maybe by next week.
Yes,
We will.
yes,
So,
yes, yes. Perfect. Okay, so I'll put that down for next week.
yes,
Well,
neurotyping.
I'm Sean LaFlock. You can get me at Sean at CrossFitDarbyBeach.com.
I'm Scott Agnes. You get me at Scott at CrossFitPortland.com.
Scotty, stay warm. I'll see you next week.
All right, you too.
Later, dude.
All right, later.